Today we're going to talk about ArrayList in Android Studio. So to get started, I just have a basic application. I just ran through the wizard and nothing special. It's a blank activity. So I'm going to do Control R to run it. I'm going to open up the emulator, and there's nothing to change. I've already loaded it, so instant run is on. There's nothing to see. So we're going to talk about ArrayList. So what is ArrayList? Whenever you're creating a new object or something in Android Studio, you can often just start typing it. So ArrayList. And you can see it suggests it for us. So I'm going to hit enter, and there it is. And I do have auto import turned on. So if you look up at the top, it added, yeah, I think it added, let me get rid of that. Yeah, so it's adding stuff in. So ArrayList, if I type it, there it is. Here it is. I didn't see it before. So ArrayList is automatically being imported. If you don't have that, go into your settings. I have another video on, or you can figure it out, how to turn on auto imports and stuff. But ArrayList, so there it is. And what does it take? So ArrayList is basically saying, hey, I want a list of something. What should it be? How about milk? Going on with, for example, we'll name it milk. We'll just do that. So basically what this is saying is, hey, I want a list of milk. We have milk container number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, milk container number 100, milk container number 1000, or whatever. But in this case, let's change it from milk to string. So a string is just the basic, it's like what you learn in, it's basically just letters, and letters basically what it is, a string. So there it is. Now there's a couple of things we need to do. We need to go into onCreate and initialize the array list, because we can't start doing stuff with milk until we actually kind of initialize it. So let's do this. Let's do milk equals new array list, and it'll automatically fill that in for you. You can just hit enter and autocomplete, and we can leave it empty like that. So it's saying at the top, hey, give us a list of strings. This can be names like Daniel, Hannah, Melody, Grace, Daniel, Zach, Bob, whatever. Actually, we'll name this to, and I'm just doing refactor, and you can just automatically just change that to person. Let's do this. People. Okay, so here we go. So now let's go down to people dot, and if you put a dot, a lot of times you can see what it takes. So I just type people, put a dot, and then you can see, oh, we've got a get method, we've got a size, and add a couple of add all. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna type dot add, and we're gonna add a name. So let's add a name. Let's do Daniel. So there it is. So I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna save it. I always do Option Command L to format the code. I'm gonna run it with Control R, open up the emulator, and not much should change because we don't actually have anything on the screen. So let's do something else. Let's do people.add. Let's add Melody. Let's add people.add. Let's add Bob. Scott. So now we have some names. I'm going to save it and run it with Command R on my Mac. And not much should change because we don't actually write it out, but this is perfectly valid. This is a perfectly valid array list. So we have a list of something. In this case, it's not milk, it's a string, so it's basically just letters like Daniel or Melody or Bob, and we named it people. Now it's very important to come down into your onCreate and initialize it with people. So you do new array list. You just have to do that. If I remove this line right here, it would not work, it would crash. So now let's do something else. Let's type ForI, and this is a little code template in Android Studio. So I just type ForI, then enter, and it's gonna select I. And we'll get into loops a little bit later, but not yet. But just to show you that we can actually do something, we'll do people.size, and then log D, and that'll bring up the template for that. I can just hit enter. Name dot people dot get I, and I'll cover this in just a second. But now we need to go up to the top and do log T, enter. So I'm going to run this, and we won't really see anything in the app, but if we come down to Android Monitor, you can see we have, and I'm in this view right there because there are lots of views. You can also search it for people. What do we name it? Name. So here it is, Melody, Daniel, Bob, Scott. Those are the names. So what is this for loop, the ForI that I did? So ForI, let's do another one. This is just to show you, but ForI, type ForI, that'll open up the template. I can hit enter. It's basically saying, so the first part here is saying, hey, start at 0. The next part, and it's separated by a semicolon. There are 3 parts. So the first one is start at 0. The next one is, so that 0 would be Daniel. So Daniel's 0, Melody's 1. So it's saying start at 0. Next it's saying, so the next part of this is, it's that right there. It's basically saying when I, as long as I is less than the size of people, so 0, 1, 2, 3, as long as it's, well this will work because of the indexing starting at 0, but if it's less than that, then we're good. If it's more than that, something's wrong, or it won't go more than that. And then the next part is increase I. So every time we go through this, so every time it's going to come down there, it's going to come down there, it's going to come down there. It's like, oh, okay, loop again. Okay, now we're on 1, 1, 1. Bob, Bob, Bob. Scott, Scott, Scott. Oh, go up back to the top, and if we go back to the top, we'll see that, oh, there's no more after Scott. So then also something else that's kind of helpful is this log D, and if you just type log D, and it'll prompt you. You can just hit enter and then enter a couple of times, and that'll create something won't be displayed in the app, but it will be displayed down here in the Android monitor. So open up Android monitor and it'll be displayed down there. Then we also take a variable, the name is tag, and the tag is up at the top where it's private static final. We'll get into that later, but it just basically, it's just a variable. I could just as easily put a string in there saying ASDF, then I could get rid of that because it's not being used. So that might make it a little easier to understand. So I'm gonna clear that, run the app again, and then here are the names: Daniel, Melody, Bob, and Scott. So just to go over stuff again, you start with ArrayList at the top, whatever you want it to be. It could be milk, it could be store, it could be a receipt, it could be an invoice. In this case, it's the string, and we're gonna call it people. And then people, we initialize it with ArrayList. Then we add people, and then we put a dot, and then an add. So add, and then we're just looping through it with this right here to display it to the Android monitor at the bottom. Hopefully you learned something, and watch me in the next video. We'll learn more stuff.